1. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. 2. If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness. 3. I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying. 4. We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. 5. Life's too short to hang out with people who aren't resourceful. 6. What's dangerous is not to evolve. 7. I think frugality drives innovation, just like other constraints do. 8. Get big fast. 9. In today's world, if you have a good idea, you can make it happen much more quickly than ever before. 10. One of the only ways to get out of a tight box is to invent your way out. 11. If you never want to be criticized, for goodness sake, don't do anything new. 12. There's no rule that says the world is supposed to be easy for you. 13. I think one of the things people don't understand is we can build technology products in a fast cycle way. 14. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well. 15. If you're not stubborn, you'll give up on experiments too soon. And if you're not flexible, you'll pound your head against the wall and you won't see a different solution to a problem you're trying to solve. 16. We innovate by starting with the customer and working backwards. That becomes the touchstone for how we invent. 17. I very frequently get the question, what's going to change in the next 10 years? And that is a very interesting question. It's a very common one. I almost never get the question, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? 18. The common question that gets asked in business is why? That's a good question, but an equally valid question is why not? 19. I believe you have to be willing to be misunderstood if you're going to innovate. 20. Invention requires a long-term willingness to be misunderstood. 21. If you do build a great experience, customers tell each other about that. Word of mouth is very powerful. 22. Customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied, even when they report being happy and business is great. 23. I would rather interview 50 people and not hire anyone than hire the wrong person. 24. We are stubborn on vision. We are flexible on details. 25. There are two ways to extend a business. Take inventory of what you're good at and extend out from your skills, or determine what your customers need and work backward, even if it requires learning new skills. 26. You can write a mission statement for your company, but if you don't really adopt it, if it's not part of your culture, then it doesn't do any good. 27. The best customer service is if the customer doesn't need to call you, doesn't need to talk to you. It just works. 28. If you're doing something and you can't tolerate criticism, then don't do anything new or interesting. 29. Focus on the things that don't change. 30. We've had 3 big ideas at Amazon that we've stuck with for 18 years, and they're the reason we're successful. Put the customer first. 31. Amazon is not too big to fail. In fact, I predict one day Amazon will fail. Amazon will go bankrupt. 32. I think complaining is not a strategy. You have to work with the world as you find it. 33. It's more useful to focus on things that won't change. 34. Any business plan won't survive its first encounter with reality. The reality is always different. 35. There's no alternative to inventing the future. 36. If you want to be inventive, you have to be willing to fail. 37. In business, what's dangerous is not to evolve. 38. We don't chase the competitors. We watch them, listen to them, learn from them, but chase the customer. 39. When you're inventing, you have to be willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. 40. I try to encourage people to reach out into the fog and start to make decisions. 41. Watch, when a decision maker seeks consensus, decisions get watered down. 42. You know, you can work long, hard, or smart, but at Amazon.com, you can't choose 2 out of 3. 43. I encourage people, when they think about risk-taking, to think about it in the framework of, quote, you get to be the greatest inventor in the world. 44. The great thing about fact-based decisions is that they overrule the hierarchy. 45. It's not an experiment if you know it's going to work. 46. I very frequently remind our employees that I am not the customer. And so I try to say, I know I'm not the customer, but I know things that the customer doesn't know. 47. If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness. 48. The thing I have noticed is when the anecdotes and the data disagree, the anecdotes are usually right. 49. You have to be willing to endure a certain amount of criticism in the near term to reach the destination in the long term. 50. A company shouldn't get addicted to being shiny because shiny doesn't last. 51. The thing I have noticed is when the anecdotes and the data disagree, the anecdotes are usually right. 52. You have to be willing to endure a certain amount of criticism in the near term to reach the destination in the long term. 53. A company shouldn't get addicted to being shiny because shiny doesn't last. 54. We are willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. 55. We innovate by starting with the customer and working backwards. 56. I knew that when I was 80, I would never, ever regret having tried this. I would never regret trying to participate in this thing called the internet that I thought was going to be a big deal. 57. The 3 big ideas at Amazon: long-term thinking, customer obsession, and a willingness to invent. 58. Chasing the competition, following the competition, that is not the recipe for success. 59. I think if you set out to invent something new, you have to expect that it might not work. 60. The way I look at it is that every day is day one. 61. You have to be willing to fail if you're going to invent. If you're not failing, you're not innovating enough. 62. The reality is complicated. The reality is nuanced. 63. Everyone wants the outcome. Few want the pain. 64. We want to be a company that even the pessimists can be excited about. 65. It's very hard to focus on the customer if you're not innovating. 66. I believe the last decade was a fantastic decade for consumers because of the internet, and I believe the coming decade will be, if anything, even better. 67. Being wrong might hurt you a bit, but being slow will kill you. 68. Culture is the byproduct of consistently making the right decisions. 69. The more elite an institution, the stronger this pull toward the resume. 70. It's not that we're smart, it's that we invent. 71. High standards are contagious. 72. One thing I love about customers is that they are divinely discontent. 73. Persistence, flexibility, and the willingness to experiment are key traits for anyone building a business. 74. If you never want to be criticized, don't do anything new. 75. You shouldn't just narrowly focus on your competitors. You should focus more broadly on your customers. 76. Given a 10% chance of a 100 times payoff, you should take that bet every time. 77. Every single day, if I make a decision that will be right 55% of the time, that's a good decision. 78. I'm not driven, but I am guided by curiosity. 79. You need to be inventing on behalf of customers, and you need a willingness to think long-term. 80. In business, you have to be able to work in a way where you're not embarrassed by short-term failures. 81. Setting the bar high in our approach to hiring has been, and will continue to be, the single most important element of Amazon's success. 82. If you never want to be criticized, don't do anything new, but that's a fool's errand. 83. We start with what the customer needs, and we work backwards. 84. There's no compression algorithm for experience. 85. I think you should devote yourself to a mission bigger than yourself. 86. In the old world, you devoted 30% of your time to building a great service and 70% of your time to shouting about it. In the new world, that inverts. 87. Work hard, have fun, make history. 88. No. If we can keep our competitors focused on us while we stay focused on the customer, ultimately we'll turn out all right. 89. I would rather have a great meeting than a bad email exchange. 90. The thing that's most important is that we not lose that day one mentality. 91. Day two is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating painful decline, followed by death, and that is why it is always day one. 92. You want to be very focused on customers, and you want that to remain constant, even as the world changes around you. 93. If you're not stubborn, you'll give up on experiments too soon. 94. We are the most customer-centric company in the world. 95. Take a group of people who are innately smart, ambitious people and give them a mission. 96. Whether it's Google or Amazon or whoever, all of us need to be reminded that convenient, low prices and a huge diversity of selection is meaningful to customers. 97. I think you can afford to think long-term if you're actually solving real problems for real customers. 98. Missionaries build better products. They care more. For a missionary, it's not just about the business. There has to be a business reason, but that's not why you do it. 99. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world usually do. 100. When it comes to the really important things, you have to be very stubborn.